Vigilante Winston here with a very simple question. Does anybody still care about Superman at all, let alone J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' new potential reboot? Don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of streams on it, and I've been on plenty of them myself. Not only that, I know there's a little bit of buzz. I mean, J.J. Abrams is a big name, even though he's destroyed a lot of franchises, but I don't think this character has been relevant for like 30 years. I could have this hypothesis wrong. In my head, J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates were looking for this big symbol of white patriarchy that they were going to destroy and thumb their nose at. Either he was going to still be a white character and they were going to make sure you knew that he was racist and represented racial patriarchy, or they were going to make him black and fill him with a bunch of black stereotypes because that's the only thing woke writers usually write. We can't be like, people who graduated college or trade school who have a successful career. No, we're all drug dealers. We live in vans by the river, and that's why I don't like woke content. In any event, I feel like they thought they were going to destroy this pillar of pop culture and really get a lot of conservatives and Republicans angry at what they've done. Let's be honest about Superman. He hasn't really been relevant for about 30 years. Hell, the last good movie he was in came out years before I was even born. Don't get me wrong, he's still a relevant and popular superhero. I think the Superman and Lois show that just came out and a lot of buzz from that proves he's still relevant and beloved. But he is nowhere near the top superhero, not even in DC. Hell, he may be the third most popular hero of the Trinity between Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman right now, even with Gal Gadot graping a guy. Still, I feel like Batman, he's the character they put in all of their books. He's still the most relevant character. He's still my favorite character. And even Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot has a better movie for her character in the 2017 Wonder Woman movie than Superman does. Don't get me wrong, Superman has a ton of great depictions throughout his near century of life as a comic book character. The Superman, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, along with a bunch of great animated movies in the 2000s and 2010s. Also, the Fleischer cartoons in the 40s, the Super Friend era and the Hanna-Barbera era in the 60s. He has a lot of great material that people love. And of course, the iconic Christopher Reeve depiction in the 70s, the George Reeve depiction in the 50s. Throughout history, Superman has been represented, but he's not really the same character. Yes, Smallville was very popular, but I don't think Superman Returns was that good of a movie, and the Man of Steel, while it had promise and had some cool scenes, I think it changed too much of the internal character. I know Snyder Cut people will yell at me and say, hey, this movie only showed the beginning of Superman. He was going to be the complete Superman by the end. That may be true, but we still did not get a true-to-life Superman depiction. Again, I don't think there's been a true-to-life Superman depiction in live action at a high level since Christopher Reeve. The TV depictions are really good. I like the animated depictions a ton. But Superman's kind of a lower brand. It's not the 90s anymore. It's not the 80s anymore. I mean, since then, you've had the X-Men blow up in popularity. You have Spider-Man, who's grown in popularity. You've had Iron Man since the MCU become more popular. Obviously, the Batman movies on the DC side have been more popular. And again, Wonder Woman 2017 was a really popular movie. So was Aquaman and Shazam. I don't think Superman is the same character with the same cachet he had years ago or even a decade ago. And honestly, that's not all just other superheroes getting more popular. A lot of that's just how people view Superman. He's too perfect of a character. People don't really realize that Clark Kent is who he is. Superman is what he does. Also, I don't think people realize how good an idealistic character can be in these dark times. Hell, Superman himself was created in the 30s during World War II and the Depression. So he's a character that comes from a very dark era, but he was the bright light in that dark era, and that's what makes him great. But I don't think writers grasp that. Hell, there's been way too many evil Superman depictions, not just within DC with the Injustice storyline or some of the nightmare scenes from some of the Snyderverse, but outside of DC with The Boys, with Homelander or Brightburn. There's this obsession with an evil Superman instead of realizing That's what makes him great. He's not evil. He has the powers of the God, but he chooses to do things for good. And he's just a guy from a small Midwestern town who went to a big city to do the right thing to the best of his ability. That's what makes Superman great. He's something to aspire to. But no one's really cared about that for like a couple decades outside of a few hardcore fans. I did over 10 hours of streams where this was supposed to be the main subject of J.J. Abrams' Ta-Nehisi Coates reboot. I did a stream on Fireball Productions channel. Check him out. I'd be remiss if I didn't take this time to plug our show, The Culture Crime Fires. It's Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. It alternates between my channel and Matt's channel, which is at Fireball Productions again. And my channel is the one that you're currently on. Culture Casino's channel, check him out. Jake D's channel, check him out. And of course, my own, you're already checking me out. And throughout that 10 hours, it was a chore to stay on that subject. We just couldn't care less. We could talk a little bit about some of the good depictions of Superman we liked, but there wasn't even anger. There was just this apathy. Yeah, we talked a little bit about some of the unsavory things Coates has said about 9/11 responders, but outside of that, there wasn't a lot of vitriol towards him. There wasn't a lot of vitriol towards JJ outside of him getting another scalp of a franchise. There was just this, meh, who cares? That's what I feel. I think, yeah, there are some people who are mad, but a lot of that is just kind of a knee-jerk, almost learned response. I mean, one of the big issues I think the apathy is there is hell. You have Ghostbusters 2016. You have The Last Jedi. You have Charlie's Angels. You have Terminator Dark Fate. You have Doctor Who. You have Star Trek. You have a lot of franchises I'm probably forgetting. What was it? She-Ra, Thundercats Roar. You have a lot of cartoons and movies and TV shows that have been destroyed by woke creators and agenda and politics and a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with good characters. A bunch of characters who have been changed from what they were naturally. On top of that, you have DC, which is a very disorganized company, and Warner Brothers is a very disorganized company that has everything from the Snyder Cut, which they're trying to distance themselves from, but if it's successful, there's still rumors that there could be spinoffs. You also have a climate where Marvel and the MCU has kind of burnt people out on superhero movies, and I think a lot of people are happy with Endgame being not only their end for Marvel movies, but superhero movies in general. And hell, even this video, how much have I actually talked about Superman? Yeah, I talked a little bit about him, but I'm talking about everything else. Superman is not the same. Again, I know he still has his fans, but he's nowhere near the number one superhero. Hell, he's probably not top 3 or even top 5 right now. And even then, there's just this anger, like Superman's too perfect. In general, before you add any woke elements and ubermensch theory you might have to Superman, despite the fact he was actually created by Jewish creators, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know if they're going to make Superman black, and this may be a huge secret, but if the movie's good, we're not going to care what race Superman is. I have literally decades of evidence to prove that if it was a good movie, no one would even care what race Superman was. You have Blade, which is not just a seminal movie for black superheroes like Black Panther was marketed as a generation later, but a movie that made superhero and comic book movies more serious. If you go back to the 90s in a post-Batman Forever and Batman and Robin world, people did not take comic book movies seriously. Yes, I know there's only a year gap between Batman and Robin and Blade. A lot of people had lost faith in comic book movies, thinking them to be silly kids movies, and then came Blade, a rated R, hardcore, violent, and cool superhero or comic book movie. And for the era, the effects were pretty cutting edge. The action was good. Yeah, it doesn't hold up quite as well if you weren't of that era and don't have the nostalgia for the rave music. But it's still a really good movie, and it featured a black protagonist, and it was beloved and very influential and impactful in making comic book movies thought of as serious. Not just black superheroes, but all superheroes, the entire medium. And he didn't have the virtue signal to do it. Not only that, DC themselves have a ton of black characters they could use. They have Black Lightning already on TV. They also have one of the Black Green Lanterns, John Stewart. He's the one that a lot of us grew up on in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He was a cool character. He's from Detroit, which is awesome. They didn't play that in the cartoon. But I would like to see a story about him, or him being the main character of the upcoming Green Lantern Corps project. Not sure if it's going to be a movie or TV, but I digress. You also have the Milestone universe, which is owned by DC and includes Icon and Static Shock, who had his own success as a cartoon character in the 2000s. You can also use Steel. Yeah, there's a lot of baggage in the 90s because of the Shaq movie, but I think an Iron Man story told from a guy who's making 75 to 100K instead of a trillionaire will be a little bit more interesting to see how a prosumer approach to the Iron Man story, where he has to use ingenuity and have to build a lot of the suit by hand in order to get everything done properly. I think that would be an interesting story. And again, that is the point. We want these characters to be inherently interesting more than the race. The big issues with all of these woke remakes are twofold. One, it's another remake, another rehash, or another redo. This is something that plagued Hollywood long before gender or race swapping main characters or using the main character's sexuality as a political statement became in vogue. It's become tired and tired. When is the last time you've seen a movie that wasn't a sequel or a remake or an adaptation? And then there's laziness. You see, once one of these companies or the execs or writers or creatives have created a black character or an LGBTQ character, they're done. They have no more obligation for any more creativity. They have no more obligation for plot or even logic and continuity, because if you don't like it, that means you're a bigot, or if you're of that same group, you have internalized discrimination against yourself. Even if you're just somebody who don't want all your sisters to be portrayed as crack dealers who
live in a van down by the river.
You know what I just realized? I stopped talking about Superman again. I think my point's proven. Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams can't kill Superman because he's already dead. So that's the end of my rant. What do you think? If you like the video, please like the video. If you disagree or agree with anything I said, let me know in the comments below. If you're so obliged to share and subscribe, please do so. And even if you do none of these things, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. God bless.